Yeah, man.
What a guan! I am Mikel Marvin Samuels. Watch me cook chicken broad beans stew, aka chicken and broad beans. Get 1 stalk scallion, springtime, 2 or 3 garlic cloves, small between medium size onion, half teaspoon marjoram flakes, half between 1 teaspoon dried parsley flakes, 1 teaspoon rosemary leaves, half between 1 teaspoon dried basil flakes, 1 canned/tinned broad beans. You could use butter beans instead. 2 or 3 dried pimento berries, half between 1 teaspoon salt. I am using sea salt. 1/4 teaspoon distilled white vinegar. I am using cider vinegar. You could use any flavored vinegar. 2 tablespoons between 4 tablespoons ketchup. 2 tablespoons between 1/4 cup cooking oil. I am using coconut oil. 1 pound chicken parts. For the recipe, visit JamaicanDinners.com, JamaicanCookings.com. Gather all the herbs one place. I am using this plate. Measure 1 teaspoon rosemary leaves. Measure 1 teaspoon basil flakes. Measure half teaspoon marjoram flakes. Measure 1 teaspoon parsley flakes. You could use dried or fresh herbs. Get a coffee grinder ready. Add herbal flakes into the coffee grinder. Grind herbal flakes to herbal powder for 40 seconds. Put herbal powder on the plate. Herbal powder. Put this aside. Go to the next step. I am using canned/tinned broad beans. Rinse the surface of the can clean. If using dried beans, pressure cook it for 12 minutes. Do not soak it. You could use broad or butter beans. Before you open the can of beans, rinse off the surface with fresh water. Open the can of broad bean and then drain the water. I like to sprinkle a few drops of distilled white vinegar on the beans, and then I would rinse it with fresh water. Drain the water. Prepare the beans. Put this aside. Go to the next step. Dice the vegetable seasonings. Put enough water into a bowl. Sprinkle several drops of distilled white vinegar in the water. You could use a pinch of salt instead. Wash springtime clean. Use your fingers, rub thyme's leaf clean, and then rinse it with fresh water. Do this on the fresh running water. I washed and freeze my scallion, but if you are using fresh scallion, wash it now and then rinse it as well. Put the washed springtime on the plate. Put vegetable seasonings on the same plate with the herbs, with the powdered seasonings. Use a sharp knife or cooking scissors. Dice or chop scallion fine. Put diced scallion on the plate. Put 2 or 3 dried pimento berries on the plate. Peel garlic clove. Trim spoilage. Grind garlic to puree or mash it to pulp. Put garlic on the plate. Peel onion. I like to cut the onion in half. It's easier to handle. Remove just the brown leaf. Remember this, the first layer of the onion is the strongest. Dice onion fine. I like to slice the onion fine. Put sliced onions on the plate. Keep the seasonings on the plate separate. Measure 1 teaspoon salt and then put it on the plate. Prepared vegetable seasonings. Put this aside, go to the next step. Clean and prepare the chicken for cooking. Get a knife. Use your fingers. Go between the bone. Remove clot blood. If using chicken's thigh, pay special attention to the chicken's thigh. Go between the chicken's thigh. Trim the excessive fat. If using chicken's breast, ensure chicken feed is not on the breast. Clean the chicken's breast properly. Clean the chicken's wing properly. Chop off the chicken's butt and clean that area good. If you're unsure, do it like me. At the end of the day, ensure chicken is cleaned properly. Throw off this dirty chicken water and then pour fresh water on it. Now sprinkle several drops of distilled white vinegar on the chicken. Use your hand with your fingers. Rub the chicken's parts clean. And then throw off this water and then pour fresh water on it. When I have it, I like to squeeze lime juice in the rinsed water. When you wash the chicken in lime juice and water, that will give the chicken a tiny bit tangy flavor. You could use tablespoon lime or lemon juice instead. Rinse the chicken clean and then drain rinse water. Put chicken into a colander, allow it to drain. If you are in a hurry, put chicken parts between your palms and then squeeze it to remove the excess water. Drain the water from the bowl. Put clean and prepared dried chicken into a clean bowl. This is clean and prepared chicken's parts. Go to the next step. Get a chopping board that you use for meat. I am using this red chopping mat. I use it for meat only. Get a sharp knife ready. You could use a cooking scissors instead. Put chicken part on the chopping board. Use a sharp knife. Cut chicken's thigh in half. You might need to use your palm near your wrist to hit it. Only do this if you're used to it. You could use the bottom of a firm handle pot instead, or you could use a clean hammer. Chop bone-in chicken chunks. The bone-in chicken chunks should be this size. Chop 2 between 3 inches bone-in chicken chunks. Cut chicken in half and then chop or cut that half piece in half. Cut 1.5 between 3 inches chicken chunks. If you're unsure, do it like me. If using chicken's wing, cut that in half. Put chopped chicken chunks into the bowl. Chopped chicken chunks. Go to the next step. Add salt on the chicken chunks. Add half herbal powder on the chicken chunks. If you want to marinate, you could add the vegetable seasonings now and then put it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. 24 hours or overnight is best. If you are in a hurry, you could start cooking now. Just add half the salt and half herbal powder. Use your fingers. Rub the seasonings on the chicken chunks properly, evenly. I'm not going to marinate. I'm going to cook now. Put a medium-sized saucepan / stew pot to heat. Put the stove's flame gauge on 4, medium-low. If inside of the pan / stew pot is wet, use a paper towel, dry it. After that, measure and add 1/4 cup cooking oil. I am using coconut oil. Allow the oil to get hot for a few seconds. After 40 seconds, between a minute or until you can see a little smoke, add chicken chunks. Put chicken chunks on its own spot in the pan. The chicken chunks will touch, nevertheless keep chicken chunks separate in the pan. Allow chicken chunks to fry golden on one side before you flip it. The stove's gauge is on 4, medium-low, allow. After 6 minutes and you did not move the chicken chunks that is frying in the pan, use a cooking fork. Flip chicken chunks on the other side. Fry the chicken chunks this golden. This is how golden you want to fry the chicken chunks. Go through patiently. Flip each chicken chunk on the other side. Allow frying. The stove gauge is still on 4, medium-low. Allow. Put the vegetable seasonings near. After 6 minutes, a total of 12 minutes frying, the chicken chunks looks like this after fry. Add the diced or sliced onions. Use the cooking spoon. Stir onions in the oil. Allow onions to saute between 40 seconds. This will add flavor, not in a bottle, in the meal. Add chopped scallion. Use a cooking spoon. Stir chopped scallion in the oil. Allow scallion to saute 30 seconds. After time, add mashed garlic. Use a cooking spoon. Stir the mashed garlic in the oil. Allow garlic to saute 20 seconds. After the time, add pre-cooked beans and then add the remaining salt and seasonings on the plate. Use a cooking spoon. Stir it. Measure 1/4 teaspoon distilled white vinegar. I am using cider vinegar. Remember, you can use any flavored vinegar. Use a cooking spoon. Stir it. Turn the stove's flame gauge down. Put the stove's flame gauge on 2, low. Stir it. Use the pan's lid. Cover it. Allow stewing. Keep the pan's lid covered within this time. After between 3 minutes. This is the chicken broad bean stew, aka chicken and broad beans. Use a cooking spoon, stir it. This looks good. Use a cooking spoon, stir it. Flip the bottom to the top, stir it. Now measure between 2 tablespoons ketchup and then stir the ketchup in the stew. Use the pan's lid. Cover it. The stove's gauge is on 2, low, allow. After between 2 minutes more, use a cooking spoon, stir it. If you want to get the gravy or the sauce juicy, turn it up, stir it for a few seconds and then turn off stove's flame. Finished. Use the pan's lid. Cover it until serving. Before serving, use a cooking spoon, stir up the meal, moist up the meat. Take a scoop of this delicious looking chicken broad bean stew. I am laying it on a plate of rice. You can't tell me say this chicken broad bean stew, aka chicken and broad beans, no look delicious. This chicken broad bean stew looks delicious. As a matter of fact, it's new. I put this recipe up online several years back, but I like cooking it so much I just think I would show it to you again. This is chicken broad beans stew, aka chicken and broad beans. Visit JamaicanDinners.com, JamaicanCookings.com for the recipe. You should try cooking this chicken broad bean stew yourself. You will love it. I did. Come back, leave a comment, subscribe, like and share. This is chicken broad beans stew, aka chicken and broad beans. This is one of my favorite meals, chicken broad bean stew. The herbal gave this chicken broad bean stew a natural food flavor. You will enjoy it. Chicken and broad beans mixed together is a unique flavor. Try it. If you do not want to use herbs, you could use a teaspoon of all-purpose powdered seasonings instead. Until next time, Megan, walk good.